It's a radio voice. Hello, my dear sirs and madams all over the world, and welcome to this episode of our No Booze News.
It's like being on a plane. Maybe one day we can do an intro with non-alcoholic stuff copied from an aeroplane security advice, such as when you want to drink non-alcoholic stuff, drink it at first on your own and then serve it to people who need your help.
You will find your glasses under your seatbelts,
Under your seatbelts?
and the fun, yeah,
Under your seats,
there's always some. That's what you mean, yeah.
not under your seat.
Barely under your seatbelts.
Yes, in case of emergency, take off your shoes, jump into the boat, take your glass with you, and drink it. Yes. Monday, 22nd of April. We're back from Italy, and we want to talk about what we have experienced so far at Vinitaly. So wrap it up for you guys. We saw some interesting stuff. We want to talk about the Italian market.
And we also took part in a very interesting tasting conducted from Meininger and Weinwirtschaft, and they have served us the awarded wines from Mundus Vini, and we will give you an update on how we liked them and what else is to be said about the movement in Italy.
And why it's a good idea to drink good stuff in Germany. I will cut that out, I guess.
Maybe we can also take out the part where it said Mundus Vini. Mundus Vini is correct, right? But I said it weirdly.
Mundus Windy. I'm the head of cutting. Do you say that like this?
The CEO,
The head of cutting.
the CCO.
Okay. Chief Cutting Officer. Oh, I like that one. Welcome, 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 all you curious people, no boozers, and wine lovers, to the 5th episode of Double O, your weekly go-to show on non-alcoholic products in the podcast universe. Today we're going to talk about the Vinitaly, the fair, what we've experienced, and why it could be a good idea to go there next year, or maybe not. Before we start, can you tell us something about when Italy is for all the people that just turned on the headphones and listened to this for the first time?
Yeah, so Vinitaly is the biggest professional wine trade fair in the world. This year there were around 97,000 visitors, and basically it's just a universe and a mecca for everyone that is working in wine, interested in wine, because there were also like non-professional people, just drinking tourists, were also part of the fair. But yeah, you will see a lot of producers. You have the chance to go to tastings. I think they had over 80 tastings, and just find out about different styles of wine, and then also a lot of free of charge webinars. Just lots to taste, lots to experience, and a lot of networking.
Is it more focused on the domestic market, on the Italian market? So if I go there, I'm either a drinker, I'm just interested in Italian wine. And on the other hand, I'm, I don't know, an international importer and want to get Italian wines? Or what is it about?
It's both. So the most present foreigner visitors were from the US, and then secondly, Germany and UK. And I think those were 12% US people. And I wouldn't say that they just came to drink. I think they are definitely there for business. But yeah, our impression was as well that there are lots of people that are just interested in drinking some stuff. So what would you say? What was your impression?
And I mean, when you are into this wine fair industry, I guess many fairs claim of themselves that they are the biggest ones in something because it's good to market. Provine says it's the biggest, most international one. It's only for B2B people, so it's only allowed to enter when you're a professional and you have to register beforehand. And in Italy, you could go there as a professional and you get the entrance for free. And if not, you just pay and get in anyway. And this is mainly the difference between 50,000 people going to Provine versus 100,000 going to Vinitaly. And I also had the feeling that there are some people just interested in wine, they want to drink. Most of the products presented were from Italy or regions very close, like, I don't know, Slovenia, for example. And I heard a lot of Americans. Yes. Of those 30,000 people, many are Americans.
I mean, it's also the largest export market for Italy with a value of over 1.7 million. And then German secondly. So it just makes sense that among the foreign visitors, this was
Biggest.
the presence. What I also found really cool, I mean, it was both our first time in Vinitaly, that they had different halls with for every region basically. So there was one for the Marche, one for Emilia Roma, one for Chianti, and that really opens up a whole world of a certain grape variety or region. And you could probably spend one day just in one hall, but there have been, I don't know how many halls. I didn't
17,
even
I
go
guess.
to. It's insane. So it was really overwhelming.
And I mean, if you want to really navigate through this world, you have to prepare yourself beforehand. Otherwise, you just get lost because I don't know, you like Alto Adige, you stay there for 4 hours and then, oh my goodness.
Yeah, which I have to give props to you because you prepared yourself really well. I think um, you looked out for producers that you want to see, and you looked out for tastings that you wanted to attend and scheduled everything. While I was a bit naive, I really underestimated how vast this is and how you can really get lost. But I mean, I liked it. It was great. So much to learn and so much to taste.
I mean, this is a perfect transition because we also wanted to talk about our personal experience at the fair and what I would definitely change if I go there a second time. Even though I was well prepared, I underestimated the amount of people that really need an appointment to talk to you because usually, if there is somebody available at the stand, you have to wait for 15 or sometimes 30 minutes to get somebody to talk to seriously, not just about tasting and drinking. This is possible quite often, but if you really want to talk to a person that is responsible for the German market, for the Austrian market, it might be a good idea to make appointments in advance.
Which you can also do in the app. So the app was really useful. It had some bugs, but apart
Yes.
from that, it was
Let's
driving
say,
us crazy.
yeah, I would put it like this: the patience and acceptance threshold should be put a bit higher than usual to work with the application. I guess hopefully that will work on that for next year. Yeah. I mean, we
Yeah.
had different issues with events and stuff, but at least you could use it for browsing, for navigating, and yeah, the rest is fine. What was your general feeling about Vinitaly, about the Italian wine market, especially the no-low section?
Yeah, so generally, I think you really got the feeling that the wine consumption is going down a little bit, especially I think in red wine and the demand for high alcohol wines. So, also, what I found really interesting is that a few producers say that they purposely produce a lower alcohol white wine or red wine to cope with that new demand. And then, secondly, the no alcohol products are really rare. So there's not so much acceptance and adoption of that product segment yet. And the reason being is that they don't really believe in it yet. So whenever I spoke to someone and asked them, hey, what do you think about non-alcoholic wine, or why don't you have non-alcoholic wine yet? They were like, why don't you just drink water if you want to not drink alcohol? So there's this huge underestimation of the trend, and also a bit coupled with fear, I would say. That was my gut feeling.
That's what I wanted to ask because you said you can feel that people try to deal with the decrease in alcohol consumption. Did you have the feeling that there was fear in the air? Like people fear the future? They are more pessimistic on the future of Italian wine?
Yeah, I think they see that the consumption is going down, and they also had several problems. Last year they had the overproduction, and then this year they had the mildew. And so this year the production is really low, so they really have to get their stuff out there and sell it. And adjust to the customers. And I think, yeah, they don't really have that switch yet. They are still in their pride and in their Italian produced wine, and that this is a product that will always be looked after and asked for. And I think, yeah, they don't accept it so much yet. And that is just for the few people that we spoke to that had this feeling. But Italian Minister for Agriculture, Francesco Lolo Brigida, who is saying, a drink without alcohol can't be wine. And that really sums up the opinion of a lot of winemakers. So they really try to push against it as good as possible. What do you think?
It's a very traditional market, and we should never forget that it's not talking about a switch from drinking alcohol and then just drinking stuff without alcohol. It's more about realizing that there is a trend. Wine consumption is going down, but we still talk about like a small percentage like this. It's a good opportunity. It's a huge business, and it's also surely good for your health if you drink non-alcoholic products. But there will always, at least for the next 30 to 50 years, be a market for wine with alcohol. Totally fine. And if you don't want to miss the opportunity, you should at least try to get into this non-alcoholic part. I had the feeling that at least some of them get the business part of it, but of course the product, we want that this is wine. I have a funny story I haven't told you yet, but I will do right now. I was in the organic hall, and there were several small high quality producers, natural winemakers, crafted wines, so like really focused on quality, on organic farming and stuff. And there was one stand, I promised not to name the producer, but it was so interesting. He had three young women, I would say between 18 and 25, helping him serving the wines. And then I said, I have a podcast talking about non alcoholic products, and I would be so interested in your opinion on non alcoholic product. And right when they wanted to start answering me, he jumped up in the back and he was like, it's like buying ice cream and throwing it out of the window. And I was like, thank you for your opinion, but I'm asking those ladies. And it was like, yeah, okay. And then they told me that, so something like this is a wine business, but of course we get it. We don't want to drink alcohol all the time, but I mean, it's in Italy, it's traditional, and even the 20-year-olds get it, that it's a traditional region, a traditional area, and they have to navigate through it. And they also knew that it's quite difficult to find alternatives in Italy. They have this Aperol stuff that is going on, but it's not like the mature market in Germany. If you want to have an alcohol-free product in Germany, you just go out and get it. In Italy, it's way more difficult. We will talk about that in a second. But in general, traditional market, there's a lot of pride. Of course, there's a lot of tradition and history involved. And I always ask the same question when I was tasting wine. What do you think about non-alcoholic products? First reaction was always like, they smiled. And the second reaction was like, we're a traditional market. I guess I heard this 20 or 30 times, and it's totally fine. And then I also asked questions like, what do you do when you don't want to drink alcohol, or when you have to drive? And the answers were mostly like, I drink less. So maybe just 2 glasses, and then I know I can drive, and it's zero point 0.5 is the limit as well in Italy still. Or they say I don't drink at all. So yeah, it's not in there. It's not that present as it might be in Germany with non-alcoholic products. But I mean, you know why it is the reason. Why is it so difficult to have non-alcoholic, especially wine, in Italy?
I just wanted to add that there are studies that say that 36% of consumers in Italy are interested in consuming alcohol-free drinks. So there is a market, and the Italian Wine Association, they also say that they see that there is this trend for lower or no alcoholic wines. So at the moment, they still don't have the laws and the regulations in place to be able to de-alcoholize on their own premises and then sell the product. But there is a law that basically prevents them from having substances such as alcohol at the premises in a temporary mode. And this whole regulation comes from the customs authority, and they are really afraid that it takes a long time to change these laws because it's so deeply ingrained and so much bureaucracy. I was really surprised that they have so much bureaucracy, whereas in Germany, the country of bureaucracy, we already have that, or we already de-alcoholized since 1907, I think.
I guess this is the reason because Germany, so Carl Jung invented it in 1907. So the dealcoholization was there first. And then afterwards, more bureaucracy arrived. And maybe they're a bit more used to dealcoholizing wine. I mean, we talked to some producers and basically all said the same as you just said it. You're either a winery or a distillery. And if you were a winery, you cannot be a distillery at the same time and you cannot store alcohol. My question always has been, if I'm a distillery, I would dealcoholize wine. But I don't get what the restrictions would be if, I don't know, maybe they're not allowed to buy wine to dealcoholize it because, I mean, basically it's a distillation process as well.
Yeah, and probably then you're not allowed to circulate it or to sell it.
Probably.
This these taxation laws, it's really,
Yeah.
really weird. But yeah, anyways, that accounts for all the Italian winemakers to either not do it at all or only be able to do it in countries like Germany or Spain or France because it's legal there. It's becoming only a thing for very large companies because they have to be able to afford it and also have the logistics in place, which is a pity. And that's why we are also seeing so many Italian brands that are originated in Germany or that are part of a large German entity. And they then take the grapes from, for example, Prosecco area and produce non-alcoholic Prosecco, which was also, by the way, our first stop at Vinitaly. We didn't have a wine or a prosecco. We directly went to Mionetto and tried Aperol Spritz in different variations.
Yeah. And to me, just from the marketing point of view, it was really well orchestrated. They had this flyer, this stand-up roll-up on the tables where it said alcohol-free, low alcohol, normal version of Aperol Spritz. Really interesting. And we tried all of them, and it was really interesting to see the difference and to feel what the also the mouthfeel on the palate, how the product is tastes like. It was really interesting to me. So basically, just to wrap this stuff up, the result is either the products that you can have in Italy or with under Italian brands are made in Germany or in Spain, or it has never had any alcohol, carbonated grape juice and stuff. And we tried a lot of stuff. You said we started with Mionetto. What else? What was your feeling? How many products did you taste?
Yeah, I tasted Franc Lisée.
How was it?
I really like the red wine, and they also have a sparkling rosé and a white wine, but they didn't really stand out. They were, yeah, pretty shallow, I would say.
So this is de-alcoholized wine.
This is de-alcoholized wine, yeah,
Where's the
from a
brand
larger
from?
company, from Lea Winery, I think it's called. And then Franc Lisée. We also tried that in the Meininger tasting, but I went to the stand and tried it there. And then there were a few products that, as you just said, they never have been wine. They were just early harvested grapes, so they didn't have that much sugar. But why are the bubbles so large and so like uncomfortable? It's not like with a nice mousseux in a cremant or champagne. It's like large bubbles and they hurt when you swallow them.
Okay.
And that was for every product probably that I tried there, that those bubbles were just so present in the mouth that it distracted from the real taste of the wine.
Oh, okay.
But but my favorite product indeed was the Mionetto Rosé sparkling wine. They didn't launch it. I think they will probably launch it in a few days in all the markets. But we had the chance to already try it at the Meininger tasting. And in terms of how close it is to a usual prosecco,
Original.
rosé prosecco. Yeah, it was pretty close. And that's what I really appreciated, but it's probably not the highest quality.
This is a very important thing you just mentioned. The main driver of this movement, of the no alc movement, will be the big brands. So even today, I don't know, 85 to 90% account for Mionetto, for Doppio Passo, and this is all the wines we had in the tasting because they are
Mm,
present in the market, and also other, especially German producers, big brands, Henkel Freshenet, Rotkäppchen Mumm, they already have the access to the market. Totally makes sense. And if we talk about high quality, it would take some time, and of course, it would take some money because small batches tough to make at the moment. For me, it was quite tough to find a product as a drink of the week because I personally had the feeling that when we talk about the German mature market of alcohol-free products, we are so far ahead from what we have seen in Italy because it's either from Germany entry level or it's just grape juice. But there were some products that were quite interesting, and the one that stood out for me is the HUP Rosso. It's basically grape juice from Moscato grapes, so quite aromatic, good acidity, so quite refreshing. The sugar level is quite high because basically it's grape juice and it wasn't harvested earlier, unfortunately. But what they did is they have the white one that reminds you of carbonated grape juice with Moscato, and they also had a red one, and the red one was colored with natural aromas of beetroot. And this was not only interesting because I like the color, it was also interesting because it gave the product like this earthy flavor and like this slightly bitter texture, like the taste of there is some tannins in it. And this is what I found interesting because it was not just a normal grape juice made of red grapes. It was made of white grapes, of aromatic Moscato grapes, and then it had this earthiness. I mean, I'm a Pinot guy. I like Pinot, and it reminded me a bit of this one. And nice product, interesting product, and one of the few stands where I had a sommelier and an export manager who just was happy to share everything about the product. So if you hear this, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I really love when producers experiment with different textures and liquids also from other produce like beetroot. I mean, we saw that in the making of vegan meat.
Hmm.
For example, they also use beetroot juice to mimic that bloodiness of a real steak. And
Yes.
it's cool that that we also see that in wine now.
Sometimes you need those, I call them bridge products, to just, or transition products, just to give some people who are afraid of going all in on those kind of products, give them the chance to slowly adapt to stuff like that. Not the worst one.
And for the Italian market, there is one large group that stands out because they already produce non-alcoholic wine. And we also had that wine at the Meininger tasting, which is also a good transition now to, to the wine tasting of Meininger. And this product that I'm referring to is from Argea, so Argea. And the brand on the bottle is Saccanini Tralchetto, white and red. The one with the little,
Cane, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So let's speak a little bit about the Meininger tasting.
Hmm.
So, first of all, who conducted it? It was the two editors in chief of Meininger and Weinwirtschaft, and they brought with them 8 products, I think,
Hmm.
who were all awarded at Mundus Vini. In terms of people that attended the tasting, I was surprised that there were quite a few, but from where they came from and what kinds of questions they asked, I'm not sure if those were people that were really already in touch with the whole non-alcoholic segment or if they are just really in their baby steps with it. Was that your impression as well? Like, do you recall a few of the questions that they asked?
Yes, and it was really interesting because apparently they were into wine, but not into this non-alcoholic stuff. And I can remember the question the lady next to me had when she asked, how do you get the bubbles in? Because usually good sparkling wine is made through second fermentation, and they didn't even realize that you can just carbonate it, just add CO2 like soda stream. And this is what she didn't get, and it was just explained. So I was also surprised that there were probably 30 people in the tasting, and the questions were interesting, especially regarding the Italian market. There were some people who asked questions to the Italian market. And I mean, Clemens, Gerke, Anja, Zimmer, they are, I would say, one of the few experts in this area. Clemens told us that he has been trying and also judging and writing about alcohol-free products since, I guess, 2008. So he's one of the super early pioneers. To me, this was really interesting to just be part of that one.
They also asked a lot of questions regarding how are wines de-alcoholized, like which methods are taking into consideration. And what would you say, what are the most prevalent ones?
I was a bit surprised about the answer of Clemens. It depends on who you ask, who you talk to. Most of them say that this reverse osmosis process is not very common and will disappear in the future because it's more like the chemical part of the alcoholization, or the chemical way of dealcoholizing wine. And the main focus is on the vacuum distillation, but there is the good version with using spinning cone, but with a lot of energy. And this is why he thinks, especially, that will be less in the future. But using just the general vacuum distillation and then re-adding aromas, and there's some companies, especially in Germany, that work a lot with it, this will be the future. And I was positively surprised that there was an interest within the listeners and the participants of the tasting in the production of non-alcoholic or de-alcoholized products, would be a better way to put, I guess.
But probably if you ask a person in the US which method is the best, or at least best in class right now, wouldn't they say it's spinning cone, and that will only expand? Because
Yeah,
the
I mean,
more people ask for it, also the cheaper it will get eventually, because more producers of such facilities go into the market.
I guess it depends on who you talk to regarding country and also producer. I mean, Torres, for example, in Spain, or Gießen wines, they have experience, I don't know, for 10 to 15 years in de-alcoholizing wine, and they would always claim their process of being the best one for the future. The US cares less about energy consumption, I would say. So they would say regarding quality, spinning comb would be the better one, and just don't think about the CO2 and energy effort. But to me, what I've tasted so far, it was quite interesting, by the way, in the Meininger tasting, in the Mundus Vini tasting, just to compare the different ways of dealcoholization, because we have all of them in it. We had spinning comb, we had reverse osmosis, and we had vacuum distillation. This was interesting. But I would say it's the same with wine. The people who are really interested in how the wine is made, with which barrel size and what kind of, I don't know, steel tank and maceration method, is so small, quite niche. And it would be the account to as well for the people who ask for the production method of the alcoholized wine. Most of them would just say, "Oh, this tastes nice. I like it."
Yeah.
Probably in the future, maybe in 10 years, they will care about sustainable dealcoholization or organic based products, because currently we cannot use the term under EU law. But this will change, I would say.
Yeah, so not surprisingly, we had a lot of German products in the tasting, with a lot of big brands that are also in the market and also in the de-alcoholization segment for some time now. So,
Hmm.
for example, Löffler, Natureo.
Spanish. Yeah.
Löffler is Spanish.
No, Natureo is Spanish. This
Ah,
is the brand of Torres. I would say the most mature product in the market, because they have been working with the product for over 10 years.
that was also my favorite of the Meininger tasting from the still wines,
Hmm.
because it really resembled of a primitive, or like a nice juicy, and it was kind of sweet, so they could reduce their sugar levels a little bit. But apart from that, it was really, really good. And I would argue that if you put this into a glass and go into the city center and just ask random people how they like it versus another red wine, like maybe a sweet primitivo with alcohol, then maybe a lot of them wouldn't even recognize it.
What would you say were your main conclusions in general for the industry, for, I don't know, restaurants, people working in wine?
Definitely that there is this huge market that is only in the beginning, that it will increasingly be something that is explored by young consumers, but not only Gen Zers. And what I found really impressive was that 64% of people participated in Dry January, or at least they stated that they participated in it, and participated in Dry January and Sober October. So that's quite a large, number. So you see that there's so many people in the consumer base that will no longer tolerate just sodas and water, but they want something else. They want to be part of the dinner of the evening. And that leads me to another point. So maybe the door opener for non-alcoholic products could also be restaurants as part of a very fine dining wine and food pairing occasion, because for that it's really essential to have both, to have the food and then the corresponding wine, and to have a good product there and surprise the guests with it. Maybe those that haven't tried it before and have to drive or have other reasons for not drinking, that could really be a large lever.
What would you say would be the markets that could adopt this in a better or an easier way?
Do you mean country wise or?
Because I would say what you just said would be quite difficult. I mean, it could be an option in Italy, but just what I've experienced so far in the last couple of days, there's other markets that could realize this in a faster and more efficient way, I guess.
Probably with US being the leader in it, and then followed by Germany, UK, and then also a lot of Asian countries. They are embracing the new development of non-alcoholic products. So yeah, there were a lot of interesting facts around non-alcoholic, the segment and the movement, that were thrown in by Clemens, Gerke, and Anja Zimmer to just set the stage a little bit and to really wake up the people, wake up the audience, that there is a lot to do and there's a lot of potential, and that the only thing to meet the consumers where they are is to make the situation a beneficial one.
What would be interesting maybe for the listeners as well is, would you recommend to go to Vinitaly if you are interested in the Nolo movement in the next year?
Not to find it there, but maybe to speak to winemakers and convince them of doing it, and just see a general pulse in the industry.
Okay. Different
How
approach.
about you?
Um, no. I mean, it was interesting to see, to spot, to talk to the people. For us as people working and being interested in the industry and especially the NOAC movement, there's so few chances and also products in general. I mean, it's basically just grape juice and very, very few products without alcohol that have been de-alcoholized. If you're really interested in tasting products, the Pro Wine is definitely the better address. But yeah, I mean, Vinitaly is really interesting if you are just focused or interested in the Italian market. I really like the idea of getting to know the different regions in a better way. I really like to go to the stands where consortios, just united winemakers, small winemakers that maybe are not able to afford a stand on their own. So you get this, I don't know, 20 producers at one place and get a feeling for how the products might be of higher quality. But of course, very, very rarely seen alcohol-free products. If you're
Do
interested
you
in
have?
Italy, yes. If you're interested in non-alcoholic products, no.
Yeah, also Verona during Vinitaly is really, really nice because the whole city is just dedicated to wine. You see wine bottles in every window at the in the shopping city center. But yeah, one question I had for you is, what was your favorite wine, alcoholic, like containing alcohol, at Vinitaly? If you, yeah, like one product that really stood out for you, was there anything?
I rarely tasted wines with alcohol, but there were a few I've tried, especially some wineries that are in the portfolio of Garibaldi, and they have a really strong connection they have had for several years. I would say my most favorite product was the vintage sparkling wine from Medot. It's a Slovenian winery. We've tasted it together at the stand of Slovenia,
Mhm.
Brda. So Brda is the neighbor region of Bucolio in Italy, just across the border of Italy to Slovenia. I mean, I've known the producer for 3 or 4 years now. I visited them in 20 or 21, I can't remember. Great product. And the other product, an Italian one, Franciacorta Essenza from Santos. It's a sparkling wine which is made of botrytis infected grapes. And this was an amazing product. It's just like the mouthfeel, the complexity, the intensity, the balance in this wine. It was just impressive. What was your, let's put it, wine orgasm you had at Vinitaly?
Also, a few of the Franciacorta brands. I that was the stands where I probably spent most time compared.
So there was no product standing out. You can't ask me the question and don't have an answer for yourself. Come on.
But if,
I mean, if it was a 16% Amarone, it's totally fine.
yeah, it was actually a champagne, and I didn't want to say it
But why not? I
because
mean, I
because
had a Slovenian sparkling.
I've been to in Italy, and then my conclusion was, I really love champagne. No, but they also had a lot of really, really good Franciacortas, and I discovered so many new grape varieties, and yeah, loved them. Like I also took a few, like maybe 1 or 2 hours, where I just spent time in Alto Adige in the Trento region, like the hall for the Trento region, and just tried several Sauvignon Blancs just to, yeah, see all the differences, and that was amazing. Maybe Winkel Sauvignon Blanc.
A friend of mine, Lena, has this idea of wine orgasms. So, how many times you taste a wine, you drink a wine, and you have the feeling afterwards that this wine really stood out and it stays in mind. So, when I ask you 1 year later, how was this wine? You were like, it was amazing, and I can still feel it and taste it. And this happens only a few times, I would say. And it's totally fine if you say, I drank so many wines and I can't remember one that's really stood out. It's fine. I had two of them, even though I just tasted, I don't know, 10 in total. But I mean, we chose the wineries to visit.
Yeah, and probably there would have been so many more that I would have really liked, but I just didn't try them. Or I tried them after I drank coffee, so it's not really
Rule book
aussagekräftig.
for wine fairs: don't smoke, don't drink coffee in between, don't chew gum, don't use too much perfume, but which is quite difficult in Italy because the whole hall is just smelling of perfume
Yeah.
in the morning. Do you know what is his name? Jeremy Fragrance. Just
Yeah, of course.
2 times here, 2 times here, 2 times here, and then just go and flow.
And then do you also spray it into the air and then walk through it?
Yes,
Definitely.
had the
I've never
feeling that
done that. I think I never put more than maybe 2 or 3. But sometimes I just put one pump of perfume because it's just too much otherwise. I
and
don't
I
want to
guess it depends
smell
on the
like a
size
Douglas.
of the dispenser. Like,
Yeah.
okay, this was it. Our wrap up of the Vinitaly, of our visit to Italy this year, probably. Next week, No Booze News, episode 3, part 3, on the weekly happenings, latest news on the non-alcoholic movement. Thanks for joining, guys. Thank you, Isabel, for preparing everything.
Thank you, Alex. And thank you, everyone, for listening. And remember, start your week right by making conscious decisions.
Ciao, ciao.
Happy Monday.